So a big component of what we're doing here is growing trials. Maybe, I'm gonna say like half of what you see here as far as the plants, half of the plants here are varieties that we don't sell yet, but it's something that we're considering selling, or something that someone gave us and we're growing it out to see what it looks like. So that's a huge part of what we're doing. You'll see everything's labeled. You can check labels. Another part of what we're doing is photos, because pretty much everything in the catalog is grown here. So we try to grow out the whole catalog every year if possible. And we get pretty close to doing that. It's a lot to grow out, especially with the varying seasons, to get everything in at the right time, get it, so that it can be at peak, at peak production at the right time of year. It's a tall order, but we get really close to getting photos of everything each season. So we have a bank of photos, and we can have fresh photos as much as possible, and also show people actually what the crop looks like rather than using stock photos, because a lot of the stuff we sell is so weird and so unusual you can't really get photos of it, so we have to grow it. So that's another huge prong of our work here on the farm. You can keep following me on your right. This is one of those photos / social media projects. And these are giant carrots and giant radishes. So these are super long. Last year, I think the longest radish they got was 6 or 8 feet, but it was super skinny, like an inch across, and just super long. And these are a Japanese type, and they're made, they're bred for being super long like this. And so one of the things Jer is always pushing for is, maybe we can beat a world record. So hence this, and when these are ready, we can take apart the cedar boxes and, pull out the roots without breaking them. So we've also grown carrots that were 5+ feet long, using a similar method.
Dirt is really in one of those.
How much dirt? I don't know as far as volume, but it's a lot. Oh, the whole thing is full of dirt. Yeah, all the way from the ground up. Those are young. Those ones are just small. They'll get a lot bigger. The green will probably get 2 feet or more. It'll get big. But the roots, just goes down, down, down.
Rufus, right there, that's hanging right there.
I think that is.
That's the way
That's an Armenian cucumber.
But they have loofahs in that other one at the end.
There are loofahs in some of these blue houses that we're going to look at. Yeah, they have loofahs scattered here and there. There might even be some in here if we keep our eyes out.
There's your dulcitron right there.
Yeah, here's one of those. This is actually a more heavy-duty one, so this is not like the type. This is more the size that we carry around. And what we do, I don't think we have one here, but these dositrons, we mount them on a little dolly. We've got some of our maintenance guys put them on a dolly, and so we can just run them wherever we want. We'll just take the dositron. That way we don't have to have a dositron for every, 30 or 40 of them. We just have a dozen or so, and we can just run them wherever we need them and stick a 5-gallon bucket of fertilizer solution on that dolly. So we got our fertilizer, we got our dositron, and then we just go hook up wherever we need to, put nutrition or microbial inoculant, whatever it might be. Yep, we'll just hook it up. We'll hook it up to the water line, and there's a timer on that water line. So we'll just leave it there for a few days until it has until that timer has cycled enough times to drain the bucket. And yeah, once it's empty, we'll take it somewhere else.
The sulfur tape, is it squirted at all or is it just weak?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The sulfur tape, does it just weep?
It just weeps. Yeah, it just weeps out. Yeah, it doesn't squirt. In these houses, pollination can become an issue. So we will buy boxes of bumblebees that we put in here, and they will pollinate. Usually they're good for a few months. They don't live indefinitely, but they're usually good for the crop. And so we'll put a few hives of bumblebees usually in here. And there's a bumblebee right there, a stray one. Right there. Anyway, yeah, those will help a lot with pollination. So, a little bit of a funny story, or not so funny, however you want to view it. When we first built this structure, we had earth banked up against this back wall. This was a solid wall of earth. And there were boards that held it. And that was partly to give us more thermal mass, to regulate the temperature better. But eventually it blew out. So that's why you see this as it is now. You know, it's not, we don't have a bank of earth up against the posts, but we still get some of the same thermal effect because we're down in a hole, and also there's a circulation system that pulls air in at this end of the house, and it roots it underground and spits it out at the other end. So we can take advantage of the ground temperature to regulate the air temperature.
Geothermal.
Correct. Yep. We've got circulation fans. You know, there's a lot of stuff you wouldn't think about in a greenhouse. You know, we take for granted things like wind, but in a greenhouse, you've got a closed environment, you've got a lot of humidity. You have to have things like fans that just sit and they blow, and they keep the air moving. They keep the plants strong because they have some. Yeah, we'll just have to walk around this tiller. So here's the intake for the geothermal. It'll go in here, root underground, come out the other end.
That feels good.
Someone, I'm sure, took some either classes or it may have just been self-taught, but someone looked into it. Yeah. So on your left, you can see all the swamp coolers. Like I said, that you don't have to have swamp coolers for a greenhouse. It just gives us a little edge in the summer when we're trying to grow leafy greens or, you know, that kind of stuff that doesn't like the heat. Everything on the left is heated. You might have seen the propane heaters in the Wallapini. You'll get to see them in these houses. Everything behind me is not heated. And so these just have fans, and these don't have swamp coolers either. So we're a little limited in what we can grow, especially over the winter on these houses. But just the plastic will raise our temperature in the winter by like 10 degrees on the coldest nights. So, you know, if we are If we have 0 degrees air temperature, it'll be 10 in there. And just that 10 degrees can be all it takes to
Save a plant.
save a plant, or like a cold hardy plant. 10 degrees makes a big difference. We've got a lot of muscadines, full house of muscadines here, which muscadines are a southern grape. The gentleman from Louisiana, he's going to know about muscadines. Yeah, they do great down there. Here, if we grow muscadines outside, they don't survive. They'll survive some winters, but eventually they'll get eaten by the cold. But in one of these houses, we have just enough protection to grow them. So you're welcome to come in here. These are some of the tomatoes that we are working on breeding. So this is something that myself, Kyle's worked on some of our breeding projects. Also, Henry is a gentleman who has had a lot of training in plant breeding, and he is at our plant breeding booth in the display tent, and so he works with us as well. He's from, I want to say Ghana or Kenya. He's did a lot of his education in Africa, and he's been a big help on the team. So you will see there's several things going on in here. You'll see these plants that look like they have weird leaves, and they look diseased, but that's not a disease. That's a trait that we're actually breeding for. That's the way they're supposed to look. You can buy, these are called stick tomatoes, so you can order, there's a few places online that you can order stick tomato seeds, but the ones that we have grown tasted pretty bad. They didn't have really any flavor, basically no sweetness. So we are working to improve the sweetness so we can have, a novelty vine type with, semi-delicious, at least semi-delicious fruit on it. You'll also see all the tomatoes to your right with normal leaves. Those are a segregating population of we're breeding for the highest sugar content we can get. So we've crossed the 2 sweetest tomatoes that we could find on the farm. We grow out hundreds and hundreds of varieties here. So the top 2, the cream of everything we've grown, we crossed those 2. And the result, the owner went through and was tasting everything, and he concluded that the result was sweeter than either of the parents. And so we've been growing out the subsequent generations. These would be the grandchildren of that cross. So these are like a huge grandchild population, if you want to call it that. We would call it F2. And so it's segregating. You'll see different shapes because one of the parents was round, one of them was oblong. Both the parents had stripes. One of the parents was red and one was orange. So we're expecting to see some red, some orange, and also some variation in sweetness. And so we plan to test a lot of these with a Brix meter and keep selecting for sugar content that rivals both parents. I think there's a date on the tag. I think these were planted probably in August, or it may have been July. Yeah. Yeah. Really? Wow. Yeah, this is late.
What?
The reason this is so late is that we try to push our generations hard. We try to grow 2 or 3 generations in a year if we can, just because it means that our breeding will go that much faster. So the downside of that is that you get stuff like this, that you're trying to grow late in the year.
Bacteria, digest it, and mobilize it. When you always add this one as a hard soil amendment to improve the texture or tilth of it, or
We don't apply it like every year, but we apply it pretty frequently.
Okay, to help the soil.
Yeah, it's calcium.
Okay.
Good calcium
I thought it
source.
was calcium and sulfur.
I think it does have sulfur too.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is it important, I see there's different widths, I'm kind of wondering what this is. Pruning up the bottom to keep the leaves off. That's
Oh, yeah.
pretty important.
We do it just because it allows us to keep the plants around longer,
Okay.
because they get disease.
Sure.
I don't know. I've heard different debates as far as
Done both.
if you want maximum fruit production, is it better to just let them go and harvest everything, or is it better to prune? I don't know, but we're not after maximum fruit production.
Okay.
We're just after premium fruit production so we can get photos of it. So yeah, but I do know that the plants will fizzle out sooner for us because they'll get disease
Okay.
if we leave too much, especially in a greenhouse where it's
Too much.
you know, really humid and all. Yeah. You're welcome to poke your head in here. There's not a whole lot in here. This next house is where we have all of our muscadines.
Grapes?
Muscadine grapes, yep. And you'll probably smell them just walking in here. Yeah.
Yep.
I smell already good enough.
Yeah, so these were planted spring of 23. So this is their third season. And this is the first season they've really produced for us. But the reason I love muscadines is they are so much more resistant to
Disease?
all the diseases. Yeah, you really don't have to spray them. Even in a greenhouse like this, we don't spray them, but my parents, they live in Tennessee, and they can grow them outside in Tennessee, and, you know, we'll grow a lot of other grapes, and you really can't get fruit without sprays, but these are incredibly resistant. And so, yeah, we grow these in here. There's a lot of these on display in the display tent. But these are clones, obviously. So these were not grown from seed. These are grown from cuttings. They're pretty relatively easy to propagate, but you have to take the cuttings during the summer. They're not like a regular grape where you can just start them from a dormant cutting. They probably have a different hormonal mix because they will not start. I've tried it a lot, but they will start well from a summer cutting if you have the right setup to keep them misted. So we can file back on out, and we're not going to look at all of these houses. You're welcome to go poke your head in if you want, but all of these houses are pretty much the same in that they don't have heat. They're all basically hoop houses.
So the crop is finished. It's in July. It's not in Louisiana, it's in July.
What's in July?
Muscadine.
Oh, for you?
Yeah.
Wow.
How about you?
Here, this is peak season. Beginning of October. Yeah. Really? Wow.
Cantaloupes in there too.
Do they?
Yeah, it's on there. Your trial list over there.
Oh, on a trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these are 22.
You have to buy the cantaloupe on the trellis, or is it inside?
We go through the tape gun and we will help you back. You know, when they get like 2.5 feet in growth, we'll go through and tape all the line, keep them up, and then from there they'll just kind of pretty much they'll find themselves. That on the left there, that is a Japanese honeydew that we've been working on for the last few years, and it's going to be in the catalog, actually. It's going to be in the catalog. It's called Sugar